Let me ask you something that sounds completely backwards. What if the next promotion you get offered is the worst financial decision of your entire career? Not the best, the worst. Everyone around you will tell you to take it. Your parents will be proud. Your LinkedIn connections will hit the congratulations button. But I'm going to show you using actual research and hard numbers that roughly 6 out of 10 people who accept a promotion are walking straight into a trap that will shrink their real income, spike their stress, and leave them stuck in a job they were never built to do. This isn't motivational fluff. This is labor economics. My name is Sam. And by the end of this, you're going to understand exactly why the smartest career move you can make might be to look your boss in the eye and say, no thank you. If you've ever taken a promotion and immediately regretted it, if you've watched someone great at their job become terrible at the next level, if you're wondering whether climbing the ladder is actually making you happier or just busier, stay with me. Subscribe if you want career advice based on data instead of platitudes. Drop a like if you've already felt this trap closing around you. Most of us think about a career like a staircase. You start at the bottom and keep stepping up. Every rung is better because it comes with more money and a fancier title. But a staircase assumes every step requires the same skill. In reality, a career is more like a series of completely different obstacle courses stacked on top of each other. The first course rewards speed and execution. The next one rewards diplomacy and patience. The one after that rewards political maneuvering and navigating bureaucracy. These are not variations of the same game. They are entirely different sports. And being an Olympic sprinter does not make you an Olympic swimmer. There's a name for this phenomenon, and it's been studied for over 50 years. It's called the Peter Principle. In 1969, a Canadian educator named Lawrence Peter published a book he intended as dark comedy about corporate life. The thesis was devastatingly simple. In any hierarchy, people tend to be promoted until they reach a position where they are no longer competent. Here's the logic. You start in a role and you do well. Because you do well, you get a bigger role. You adapt, perform well again, get promoted once more. This cycle repeats until one day you land in a position where the required skills simply don't match what you bring to the table. Your performance drops. And here's the brutal part. When your performance drops, the promotions stop. But you almost never get demoted. You just sit there, permanently installed in a role you cannot do well. The organization has taken someone who was excellent at a previous job and cemented them into a position where they're mediocre at best. Lawrence Peter meant this as satire. The economy turned it into a law of nature. Pattern interrupt, show graphic. Career progression path. Person excelling at level 1, level 2, level 3, struggling at level 4, stuck at level 4 permanently. Peter Principle illustrated. The classic example shows up constantly in tech and engineering. You have a brilliant software developer who writes cleaner code than anyone on the team, ships features faster, debugs problems others can't solve. The company wants to reward them, so they promote them to engineering manager. But that job is not writing code. It's resolving conflicts between team members, sitting in budget meetings, playing politics with the product team, writing performance reviews, hiring, firing. Those are entirely different muscles. Suddenly the company has lost its best developer and gained a mediocre manager. Everyone loses. Now, you might think this is just a clever theory. Maybe it sounds true anecdotally, but surely modern companies have solved it. They haven't. A landmark study published in the Quarterly Journal of Economics examined over 53,000 sales workers across more than 200 companies. They chose sales because performance is measured with perfect clarity. You either hit your number or you didn't. The biggest factor that determined whether a salesperson got promoted was individual revenue. The top sellers became the bosses. Seems logical. But then the researchers tracked the teams these new managers were leading. There was a measurable negative correlation between selling ability and management ability. The superstar closers produced the worst outcomes as leaders. Their teams sold less. Turnover increased. Pattern interrupt. Show study results. Top-performing salespeople promoted to management. Their team performance compared to teams led by moderate sellers who were collaborative. Collaborative managers' teams outperform by significant margin. Why? Because elite selling is an individual sport driven by aggression and self-focus, managing demands the opposite: patience, coaching, collaboration. The study also found that the salespeople who became great managers were the natural collaborators, the ones who worked complex multi-person deals even if their personal numbers weren't the flashiest. But those people rarely got promoted because the system only rewarded the obvious metric. This confirms the Peter Principle is not an accident. It's a structural flaw. Organizations assume skill is vertical, that excellence at one level translates upward, but skill is horizontal. Being world-class at your current job tells you almost nothing about whether you'll survive the job above it. There's a second force that makes this even worse. It comes from basic statistics, and it's called regression to the mean. To earn a promotion, you usually need a spectacular year, but exceptional years are always a mix of genuine skill and a streak of good luck. Maybe the market was hot. Maybe a few stole deals all closed at once. Maybe your biggest competitor imploded and you absorbed their clients. When the company promotes you based on that peak, they're selecting you at your statistical ceiling. The next year, your performance is mathematically likely to drift back toward your average. That's just how probability works. But now you're also in a harder job. So you have two forces pulling you down at the same time. Your lucky streak is ending, and your role just got more difficult. To everyone watching, it looks like the promotion broke you. In reality, the system caught you at your highest point and set you up for an inevitable correction. Think about this visually. Forget the ladder metaphor. Picture a chart where the vertical axis is your competence and the horizontal axis is job level. For most people, that line does not climb forever. It rises, peaks, and then falls. At entry level, competence climbs steeply as you learn. At mid-level, you hit your zone of genius. The work fits your brain perfectly. You're productive, confident. You actually enjoy the job. Then you get promoted to team lead and the line bends downward. Another jump to director and it falls off a cliff. Pattern interrupt, show competence curve, rising through junior and mid-level roles. Peak at senior individual contributor, declining through management levels. The cruel irony is that we celebrate that downward crossing, we throw parties for it, we announce it on social media. We're literally applauding the moment someone moves from competence into incompetence. The rational move is to identify the exact point where your line peaks and refuse to move past it. Every promotion is fundamentally a trade. You exchange mastery and comfort for new rewards and new risks. The rewards are obvious. More salary, bigger title. The risks are rarely discussed. Burnout, underperformance, spending your days in back-to-back meetings doing work that drains you. If you calculate expected utility, net happiness adjusted for probability, the curve rises at first and then drops. For many people, the tipping point sits right at the senior individual contributor level. Beyond that, an extra 15 or 20% in pay comes packaged with a 50% spike in pressure and a real probability of failure. No rational investor would take that deal. Yet we make exactly that bet with our careers because the social pressure to climb overrides the math. So how do you say no without torpedoing your reputation? You need a framework. The key move is separating the money from the title. Most people don't actually want the new role. They want the raise. If you acknowledge that honestly, the negotiation changes. You go to your manager and reframe the conversation around value. You say something like this: I'm grateful for the offer, but when I look at where I generate the most impact for this team, it's in the execution, not the oversight. Let me take on higher complexity work and mentor the newer members. In exchange, I'd like a compensation path that reflects that contribution without moving me into management. You're positioning your refusal as a strategic commitment to excellence. Many tech firms already have individual contributor tracks that pay as well as management. Principal engineer, distinguished engineer, staff plus roles. If your company doesn't, you may be able to negotiate one. And if they tell you the only path to more money is a management title, that tells you the organization doesn't understand how value is created. That's a company problem, not a you problem. Here's the deeper truth. Saying no to a promotion is not weakness. It's one of the most powerful signals you can send. People who stay in roles they dominate often end up with far greater job security than people who keep climbing. When layoffs come, middle managers who aren't clearly driving results are first on the chopping block. The person who is indisputably the best at the core work, the one who actually builds the product or closes the deals or solves the technical problems nobody else can, that person is nearly untouchable. I've watched this play out multiple times. The director who spent 2 years struggling in a role they hated gets cut. The senior engineer who refused the promotion and stayed focused on shipping critical features keeps their job. The Peter Principle is not a joke from the 60s. It's a documented pattern backed by datasets of tens of thousands of workers. If you accept every opportunity without thinking critically about whether the new job fits your actual abilities, you will eventually end up stuck in a position you hate, doing work that doesn't energize you, managing people when you'd rather be building, sitting in politics meetings when you'd rather be solving problems, making more money but enjoying your life less. The person who wins the career game is not the one with the most impressive title. It's the person who figured out exactly where they were most effective and most fulfilled, climbed to that precise altitude, and had the discipline to stop. They optimized for impact and happiness, not for titles and applause. That is the real career hack. Let me give you a concrete example. I know someone, we'll call him Marcus, who was a phenomenal account executive at a SaaS company, consistently top performer, crushing quota, making around $110,000 with commissions. They offered him sales manager. Title bump, base salary to 95 with smaller commission potential but managing a team of 8. Everyone told him to take it. Next step on the ladder. Leadership experience looks good on the resume. He took it. Within 6 months, he was miserable, spent his days in one-on-ones and forecast meetings instead of talking to customers. His team underperformed because he kept trying to do their deals for them instead of coaching. His comp dropped because team performance tied to his bonus and they weren't hitting targets. 2 years in, he tried to go back to individual contributor, but the company had filled his old role. They didn't have an opening. So he left for a competitor, took a lateral move back to closing, and rebuilt his career from there. 2 years of income loss, 2 years of stress, 2 years of hating his job, all because he took a promotion he should have refused. Compare that to someone I know, we'll call her Jessica, senior designer at a tech company. They offered her design manager. She said no, told them she wanted to stay focused on craft, asked for a staff designer title instead with a compensation increase that reflected her impact. They created the role for her. She's been there 7 years now, makes more than most of the managers, has 0 direct reports, ships the most important design work in the company, loves her job. She identified her peak and refused to climb past it. That's not lack of ambition, that's clarity. If this changed how you think about your next move, subscribe. Every video here is about making smarter decisions with your money, your time, and your career using data instead of gut feelings. Next video is about why your salary is designed to keep you broke no matter how much you make. You're going to want to see that one. I'll see you there.